What's up, mortgage coach community? Dave Savage sitting down with Ryan Graham.
What's up,
I
everybody?
What's up, Ryan?
Hey,
Hey, so it is a Friday afternoon. If you're watching this live in our Facebook group, we would love your comments. We would love any questions that you have for Ryan and I. For the YouTube community, share this with your mortgage friends. I think the title of this, how to win friends and influence people. It's one of the most well-known books in business. I know it was one of the, if it wasn't the very first book that was given to me when I got in sales and got out there. I don't know if it was this or what was the other big book, Think and Grow Rich.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I think those are like two Hallmark books, right? Have you read them both, Ryan?
Oh yeah, I like you. I think for me, it was definitely How to Win Friends and Influence People. My dad handed me that book. I remember being a teenager and being like, "What the heck is this? This is stupid," but it's just chock full of so much practical stuff, man. It's great.
It really is. And for anyone who does know Ryan, I mean, he is an expert at making people look great on Zoom. And in fact, the way I met him was Renee Rodriguez, who, when it comes to amplify, in his new book, what does it say here? Amplify your influence, transfer how you communicate and lead. Well, guys, to do that virtually, it's not just what you say, it's not just what clothing you have on, it's not just your energy and your vibe. And I always talk, like when I interview people, I always think like the most powerful weapon in sales is your energy and your vibe and your attitude. But big guys, when you're on Zoom, uh, there's other things that matter, maybe even more. So Ryan, why don't you, for anyone's listening to this and they've never seen an interview between you and I, or they don't know who you are yet, just give us a little backstory on yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, my background is in video production, actually. So I met Renee initially, gosh, a long time ago, maybe 8 years ago, something like that, when he was needing help putting together one of his first speaker reels. And so I got to work with a whole bunch of old footage of his, and that was a while ago. And then, of course, when the pandemic hit, uh, like everybody, the whole world kind of got turned upside down. We shifted to our big pivot, if you will, was into this area of serving as a consultant and helping people set up different Zoom studios and live stream setups and consulting and building things. And so we have launched this whole new brand, Call Upgrade, around this. And so we still do the video production. That's starting to come back alive, which has been a lot of fun. And then yeah, now with Call Upgrade, we are helping leaders show up in today's virtual world, and it's small ways with little consultations and making some recommendations, product recommendations, and setup recommendations to larger setups. Like I've been working with guys like, of course, Dave and Renee Rodriguez, and I was just down with Alex Kuzhishin building his studio in Colorado, which was just a blast. So that's kind of been my new world now is creating these setups, these studios, really big and small is what we say, that can be
Yeah.
run by a crew of you.
Yeah. Well, you did a great job on Alex's studio.
Thanks,
It
man.
looks like that was a big one, where you
Oh,
went
yeah.
multiple days. We're talking Alex is passionate about the power of presentation. He's the co-founder of Sales Boomerang. He's my partner now at Sales Boomerang, and I'm telling you guys, he is having so much fun with that. And remember, guys, small. Like if you're watching this, if you have no budget and you just need some self-serve tips on how to crush it on Zoom, how to win friends and influence people virtually. If that is important to you, like stay tuned. I'm gonna ask all kinds of questions.
Yeah.
So why don't we just go high level first? And my audience that follows our YouTube channel are loan officers, and
Hmm.
their alpha partner where they get most of the referrals are realtors. And first of all, if you were talking to you were on stage at a sales rally or an event, and it was a room full of loan officers and realtors, why do they need to upgrade their Zoom game? And then we'll get into some do's and don'ts, some tactics.
Absolutely. No, such a great question. And honestly, it's why that question is all about I think a big part of it is this new world that we're in, right? A couple of years ago, like I was using Zoom for a long time now. I've been using Zoom for virtual meetings. It was a great way to uh, get people on in a meeting without having to travel somewhere and whatnot. But and it was okay. It was accepted because that was the norm, right? To just have a crappy setup. We didn't know any better, how to do these things. And suddenly now, though, in today's world, even post pandemic, even though that we are back meeting in person again and doing these things, which is really so great to be back. But
Yeah, for
still,
sure.
yeah, but still now the world has changed. Now it's been proven that this is a viable way of doing business, right? This is a way that we can professionally have meetings and meet with prospects and other coworkers and all kinds of, and do business, right, in this medium. And I feel strongly that just like showing up to a meeting, you got to have a nice set of clothes on. You got to look like the professional that you are. And so it doesn't mean you have to have an Alex level studio to do that. But there are, at the very least, some things that you should be thinking about, like where you position yourself in the frame, making sure that you have light on your face and you're not just in the shadows. We want to see your eyes. And then for guys like Dave and I, we've got glasses, right? So we want to be aware of things like reflections. Renee talks a lot about seeing your eyes. And I love when he breaks that down, because it's so easy to not think about what you look like, what do you appear like to other people. And it's important to focus on them. But if they can't see you, if they can't hear you clearly, if your background is a mess, all those things are speaking to who you are as a person, as a professional. Is that somebody I want to work with? That those are important questions to consider.
Yeah, and again, my goal always is to wow people and and
Yeah.
and to earn their trust. And often it's nothing you can put your finger on. I mean, you can be an incredible human being who connects with people, but if you're not showing up virtually, whether you're connected with someone on Zoom like we are right now, or whether you're recording a video, you're just not optimizing yourself. So I'm very passionate about this. I do think there's a medium. Like Renee's studio is incredible, and it's not for me, but it is for Renee. Like Renee
Yeah.
Rodriguez could not be Renee Rodriguez without that studio. And Alex, he's got a vision for the leadership he wants to bring, the change he wants to bring to the industry, and it's important to him. And most of you who are watching this, you are local referral based professionals, and all I can say is upgrade your game. So if you have questions, put them in chat down below. I'm watching, we do have a little audience in Facebook. If you're watching this on YouTube and you have questions, put them down below. I will put links, like Ryan's already mentioned his Instagram profile and his website. We'll put those links down below. So let's get into some do's and don'ts and some of the most common mistakes you're seeing out there in the market. What are the most common mistakes? Let's just start with that.
Common mistakes. Yeah, I think a good one that I think is really important. People always ask me, what's the number one thing I can do? And most people don't think this is something they need to worry about, and that's how they sound. Right. The biggest mistake that people make is not thinking about what they sound like on the other end of a Zoom call or a Teams call or whatever it might be, right? And that's because you don't hear it, right? When you're looking at if you're on a Zoom call, like right now, I can see myself in that little picture up there. I can see that, okay, I look all right. You can see my face, but I don't hear myself unless you have it set up a certain way. And if you're not thinking about that, your message is getting lost potentially, because they're having to perceive, and we can do a really good job. Our human brain does a really great job of perceiving those words. But if it's distant, or there's a lot of echo, or some of these things, or the microphone isn't close enough, by having a mic in your laptop that's a few feet away, you don't realize how bad it sounds. So I think that's and that's an easy fix too. Thankfully, if you're going to do one thing, if you're going to buy one piece of equipment, hop on Amazon and get like a $50 mic or a $20 mic, whatever you can afford. Just get something, and also get it close to you. It's important to have a good mic, yes, but you got to have it near your mouth. When I say near, like I have mine, about 5 inches from my mouth. Or I think like with your setup, Dave, we've got a very directional mic, so it can be a little bit further away, but it's very pointed to right where you're seated. So, yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest mistake.
So before I ask the next one, I want to, some notes I've taken, and I
Yeah.
read how to win friends and influence people long time ago, but it starts with smile, And
Yep.
when you think of takeaways, something so simple. And guys, if you don't show up well in the camera, uh, you're not they're not seeing your smile. If they don't see your eyes, they're not seeing it. Always begin in a friendly way. That's guys. If you're not killing it on Zoom, you can't do that. Um, there's just so many things. Do your best. Uh, be genuine. Uh, be a good listener. By the way,
Listener. Oh yeah.
if your mic isn't good, think about what he just said. It's hard for the other person to be a good listener if it sounds echoey.
Exactly.
And I've been on calls with people before where on Zoom, and I'm just like, I just want this to get over. Like, I'm either getting a ting or they sound so far away.
It's painful. It's literally draining your mind. Your mind is having to work to try to understand, and it's exhausting. It's mentally exhausting to try to be on a call like that. Yeah.
So what's another one? What's another?
Yeah, another one. Well, even going back to what you said too, smile, right? Like that to me speaks to first impressions, right? So what are the things that you can do, to make a good first impression on your setup? Smiling is a big one,
Ooh,
of
I
course.
like I like that little ninja move. First impression.
Yep, yep. And then I think right in line with smiling is eye contact, right? And so there's a lot of different ways you can do that. And one of, people aren't thinking about where their camera is necessarily. And I tell people all the time, no matter what camera you have, if it's built into your laptop screen, if it's on top of your computer, whatever it is, wherever your camera is, you want your camera to be very close, as close as you possibly can to where you're looking on your screen. And then, so that means that your eyes aren't looking way over here when you're talking to somebody. That's the worst. When their camera's over there and they're looking over here, it's like, what are you looking at? I don't understand. And that's an easy fix. Just get them close together. And then the other thing on top of that, taking that a step further, is to look at the camera, have some eye contact, right? If your screen is down here and your camera's up there, force yourself, practice looking at the camera. And the cool thing is too, there are other ways, like I've said too, of being able to do more than that. And that's using something like, it's actually a teleprompter, technically speaking. This is what I'm using right now to, whenever I'm on a meeting, to be able to look at my screen and look at my colleague at the same time. And I think that's the best of both worlds, because I'm looking at my screen and I'm having eye contact, and it's a great way to do it. So yeah, that's definitely a big one.
So I think the number two, and for me this might be the number one, because
Yeah.
I'm taking nothing away from sound, is eye contact. I mean, I
Oh yeah.
can't tell you how rare it is that I talk to someone that realizes eye contact is the camera. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
ranges. And I'm just thinking about the conversations I've had over the past few days where I'm talking to someone the whole time. It looks like this.
Yep. Yep.
And they're talking and they don't know the difference. They don't realize,
Yeah. We're
or, or,
humans. We're looking for eyes.
it's as subtle as this, like
Yeah.
I'm talking and I'm just, the whole conversation is like this. And guys, this is the difference between the best and the rest. I just had a conversation with one of America's top producers who closed over 400 loans last year, almost hit 300 million, did over 290 million. And he had great eye contact. He had a clean background. And I felt like I was talking to him. There was a time in the conversation where he looked over here, but it was like we were having this conversation. He knew, and that's the other thing, guys. Eye contact doesn't mean that you're like creeping out on someone, staring at them in the eyes the whole time. It just means you know where eye contact is,
Yeah.
and you're checking in. You're having a working meeting with folks. I mean, that's right, bro.
Yeah. Well, Renee talks about that as building trust, right? This is what we're looking for, right? And that's the same reason that it's good to give eye contact is the same reason that most people unintentionally aren't giving it, because they want to look at you. They want to see your face. They want to see your eyes. So they're looking down at their screen because that's where your face and your eyes are. So if you can work a little extra harder, and give that benefit to them, that helps them build a stronger, deeper connection to you. And so, I mean, obviously that's good in any kind of conversation, any kind of meeting, to be able to have that. Yeah.
What's another one? What's another?
Yeah, I was looking at going over the book again. It's been definitely, like you said, a few years since I've gone through and read it, but there was this quote, you can make more friends in 2 months by being more interested in them than in 2 years by trying to make them interested in you, right? That idea of getting, connecting with people, right? And I was trying to think of, okay, well, what is that? How does that translate in this virtual world, right? And a big one that I thought was pretty interesting is your background, or what else is in your shot, the stuff that's in your shot other than you, right? So these are things like when you meet with somebody, they're not just your background, their background. So like Dave, I happen to know a little bit about your desk there, but I might be like, oh, dude, what's up with that wood? That looks pretty sweet. And I could ask you about what's in your shot, you know, and other things that I might see in there. But that's basically an opportunity to see and make conversation and learn more about the person you're talking to, learn more about them as a person, right? Everything from the pictures that they might have, or the colors in their palette of things that they have, the plants. Books are a big one. You know, I love that you pulled out Renee's book earlier, you know, that kind of thing. And Renee, if you look at his setup, he's got like a stack of books in the background of his shot. And that's great because it's an easy conversation piece. And so it goes two ways. The first one, the most important one based on that quote, is looking at what's in any given shot of someone you're meeting with and using that as a way to learn more about them. And the other way is by being intentional about your own setup, by putting things in the background of your shot and not like begging them to ask about it. Like, hey, did you see that? That's pretty cool. Huh? No, not, not like that. But inevitably it will happen. You know, like this little Lego set that I have back here. This is a Lego Wally that my daughter and I built. And I can't tell you how many people just think it's kind of fun and cool, but I was very intentional about choosing this because it says a lot in a very short amount of time. It says a lot about me. It's that he likes robots, or he likes Lego bricks, or some of the other things. But I like to talk about how my daughter and I built this together. And, you know, it's some of these other things that are, and it's a film. I'm a filmmaker, you know, so it's one of my favorite movies. So it's a very intentionally selected piece of me, you know, that's in my shot. And so whatever that is, that could be awards, that could be, you know, some weird little toy like that, you know, whatever it is that is you. Like I was on with a gentleman the other day that had a drum set, a little like toy drum set in the background of a shot, and that was instantly something him and I were able to bond on. Because like, oh, dude, I'm a drummer too. How cool is that? You know, like who would have a drum set in the background of their shot? You know, it's like I love that. So yeah, being interested in the other person and looking for it in their shot, you know, and commenting on it. I thought that was a great way to tie that piece of the book in.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, that is one of the all-time best quotes and takeaways in that book is to be
Yeah.
interesting, be interested. And now you talked about distracting. I think it's just be intentional. Like
Yes.
the top producer I was just talking to, I have a white screen behind me. I don't know if it was a black wall, but it was nothing fancy. It was intentional. You know, it was
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
brand. I
Yeah.
personally liked it because it was black, and anybody who knows me knows that I wear a lot of black shirts. So I was like, that's cool. And I do have a place in the house where I work where I have a screen, you know, sits on the floor. And, you know, when I'm going to be in that spot, I pull up the screen and I have a black
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
Uh, anything else? Because I do also know one of the biggest mistakes I see is where people don't have the camera, you know, like I'm pretty intentional around the frame is right here. You know, I'm taking up the screen, but I talk to a lot of people where it's like, they're like this, you know, and I can't move my camera real quick to make the point,
No, I can
but,
lower my chair.
but,
You know, it's
but
one of
literally
these, right?
their face is
Yeah.
at the halfway point. Could you give everybody best practices on that? Because
Yeah,
it,
it's so funny. People don't think about it, but in my world, right, in filmmaking and videography, framing, as we call it, is super important because there's all kinds of interesting subconscious cues that happen based on how you set up your frame, how you set up your shot. If I'm making a movie and there's a character who I want the audience to feel like, oh my God, they're so small and you know, they're being intimidated, I would raise my camera up and I would put them in the corner of the frame and I'd move it back away and the camera's looking down on them. And that person in the shot would feel very small and meek. And so it's a great example. You probably don't want to do that in in your own shot unintentionally, you know, to make you the weak, meek character in this shot. So the simplest way to think about that, I tell people, is eye level, right? You want to try to get, it's like a regular human interaction. Generally speaking, we're all kind of eye to eye, right? Some people are a little taller, some people a little shorter. I'm definitely on the shorter side myself, but I have the benefit here on Zoom is because I can put my camera right at eye level. So now I'm as tall as you, Dave, you know, and yeah, so eye level I think is really important. And just like you said, centering yourself up, I think is really what I do often is just like, you know, I call this the Nixon, right? I just put a couple hands up and I go, okay, here, there we go. Now I'm in the middle
The
of the frame.
Nixon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I
Being
should be a
center.
little closer.
Yeah, well, and it depends on what you're doing. In your case, and so I do like to tell people, yeah, nice and close, so like a fist worth of space below your chin, a hand's worth of space above your head, you know, that type of thing. And that technically, like you said, you one could say, well, you're pretty far away, but in your case, Dave, you're a host. You're bringing people through all these things all the time, and you've got this intentional setup
No,
there,
no,
right?
it's intentional. And I love my desk. Like this desk has a lot
Yeah,
of emotional value. I feel cool, and there's intentionality to it. So
exactly.
fair enough. So three things, put them in your own order, anyone listening to it. Eye contact, know where the camera is. That's my number one. Sound quality, that's right, it's number one. Camera framing, intentional background. I do want to get into, some technology, like, okay, let's break this down.
Yeah.
What's the least expensive way to do this? What's going big? But before we go off of that, anything else we're missing that I should just get on everybody's list real quick?
Yeah, here's an easy one that anybody can do, and some people are already doing, but it's just something to think about. Is going back to that smile, the first impressions thing, one more time, right? In Zoom, I don't know if you know this. There's that little preference box. Let me just pull mine up here. I'll give you a live demo of what it looks like. In my Zoom window here, if I go to my video preferences, you might know this little checkbox here, touch up my appearance, right?
Ooh, yeah.
This is a lot of people use it and a lot of people abuse it because they'll crank it all the way up. And what I like to tell people is you, you want to have as much as necessary, but as little as possible of this thing. Because basically, I think it's a very easy way, especially if you're a little tired or
Where is that? I don't.
so if you go to your Zoom preferences, so on a Mac, it's you click on the top left and click on Zoom, and then go to preferences. Another easy way to get there on Mac or
Oh,
PC
yeah,
is
yeah,
right
yeah,
next to
yeah.
mute or
And
stop
then,
video rather.
where? And then where?
And then go to video settings.
Okay, video.
Yep.
Oh,
And then right below your camera selection there,
I
first
found
of
it.
all, while you're there, make sure HD is checked. You want to make sure you're using your high definition if you've got a high definition camera.
Oh, yeah,
And
I
then
do.
right below that, yeah, it says touch up my appearance. And basically what I tell people is your audience values authenticity. So if you've got it cranked all the way up, they're going to know it's cranked all the way up. And then it becomes a distraction. And it's a distraction away from what you're trying to get across, whatever that might be. And so it can be a useful tool, but you just want to have it. I honestly tell people, like, I don't know why they let you crank it that high up. Like just a teeny little, an eighth of the way is what I estimate mine's at, just a little bit up. It used to just be on or off. I'm glad they gave us the option for the slider because I think it's a nice little touch without, because it's a cool tool, but it definitely is easy to overdo it.
Cool,
with
cool. Any
Yeah.
other quickies before we get into what I'll call tech talk?
Oh yeah, let's see here. Inside of well, how about this for screen sharing, right? This is another thing that people struggle with a lot is fumbling is a good way to put it, right? Fumbling if you want to do a screen share. There's a great little preference. It's been a hot second since I've been in. Let me pull it up here. There we go. So there's a great little setting here in your screen share settings that says, let's see. Yeah, when I share my screen in a meeting, right? This guy right here. When I share my screen in a meeting, you have two options. You can automatically share your desktop, or you can show all sharing options. The default is this one, show all sharing options. But this one here, automatically share your desktop, is really handy because what happens is as soon as you hit the screen share button, it just starts sharing your main desktop. So the caveat is, of course, you want to make sure you're ready for that if you do have that setting on, because you hit that button, you're live. You know what I mean? But then you're not fumbling. Then it's like you prepare ahead of time, right? Okay, halfway through this call, I'm going to share the spreadsheet. I'm going to share my mortgage coach screen, whatever it might be. Halfway through your call, have that page up, have it ready to go, right behind your Zoom window or on another screen, depending on what you're doing. and then you hit your screen share button. It's none of this. Hang on, and let me share my screen here. Okay, what do I click on? That fumbling, even though we've all done this, for a couple of years now, we should be good at it. It's still easy to fumble through that. And so if you change that setting to automatically share desktop, you hit that button once, and then you're just sharing right away. And so that's a really easy way just to make it a really smooth transition. And
So,
taking it one step further is the shortcut key, Control Shift S on Windows, Command Shift S on Mac, will basically is you can hit a keyboard shortcut, and then boom, you're just live. You don't have to click anything. You just hit it on the keyboard.
what's that shortcut again on a Mac?
On a Mac, it's Command Shift S, and there we go. I just did it there. Yep. And on Windows, it's Control Shift S, I believe.
Wow, now I one of my features that I use a lot is I like having the options, and I'll go to share something. I'll pick a video, and then in the bottom left-hand corner, I'll go share sound, so that one, it's projecting well, and two, I'll go optimize video clip. And then, like, listen to this, guys. When I did my first loan in August of 1986, and the rates were at I'm not going to keep this going, but I want to advocate for all you mortgage coaches.
Yeah.
One, you can leverage the videos in our YouTube channel. For anyone that went to the Modern Mortgage or Modern Real Estate Summit, you can pull up one of those clips, and then you can literally, and again, you wouldn't do this for a one-on-one very often, but when you're doing a lunch and learn for realtors, or you're doing some type of an event, you could play videos. Any thoughts on that feature, do's and don'ts around it?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing to be aware of is when you are, and first of all, that's a great tip. And a lot of people don't even know that. You think, oh, I'm just gonna share my screen. By default, you're not getting sound. So at the very least, you want to check that share sound. But the optimized video, cool thing too, is you don't actually have to hit both. If you hit optimized video, by default, it'll already check to share my sound.
I just learned something. I did not know that. I always
there you go.
I always hit both.
Yep. And so, and the other caveat is, if you're going to be doing that, make sure you don't do what I just said, which was automatically, no, because actually that's share screen, not, yeah. That's
no, you wouldn't want to do it if you're going to show the video.
Yeah, if you're going to play a video, you don't want my thing that I just said about the sharing.
Well, I think most of the time loan officers, we're doing one-on-ones with clients, and we want to share our screen. We want to share our screen.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes right into, I think, another thing that is really important in all of this, which is practicing and then testing, right? If this is something that you want to get better at, it's like anything. It's a skill. It takes some practice. Hop on with a colleague and say, hey guys, let's test each other on this real quick. I want to try sharing my screen. Can you hear me okay? What does it sound like? And get better at that. And rather than practicing with real prospects, and real meetings, do it for fun. You know what I mean? And try to get better at it, because otherwise you'll be fumbling on an important call, and that's the last thing you want. So yeah. And another kind of related to that, before I hop on any Zoom call, any meeting, I go and I make sure that my camera is on, that it's working. And I just open up an empty Zoom meeting with myself, right? And I make sure I see if you look at the mute icon, the little microphone icon in the corner, you can see that sound is going up when you're talking, when you're saying words. So I make sure I go check. Okay, it's working. And if you want to take that a step further, inside your audio settings, same kind of thing, but audio settings now, there's this little test mic button. And when you hit that, you can go check, and then hit it again. And then now I just heard it. I heard it say that thing back to myself. So I know, okay, it sounds good. And I do those before. Anytime I'm sitting down for the first time at my desk in any given day, I make sure that my mic is on, it's working. Especially for me, this is my world. I have to make sure that I'm showing up and not fumbling around to this stuff. But I think it's applicable to any industry, right? You're a professional. You got to show up. You got to know your stuff. What does that say about you as a professional? So, yeah.
So let's talk about budget. Low end, high end. I also want to make sure if someone wanted to reach out to you and get some consulting advice, what is the low end? What is the high end of, call it Zoom coaching, video coaching? What's the minimum someone can invest, and what is the, we don't have to go maximum, because I don't know how many.
Sky's the limit.
Go maximum, but tell us what is kind of the ranges and what that looks like if they want to get some coaching, they want to audit their tech, They want to optimize their Zoom and video appearance. What's that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, well, I'll use a great example. Dave Savage here, back probably about not quite 2 years ago, but almost 2 years ago now. I remember hopping on with Dave, and we did just a little, I don't know, 1 or 2 hour session where I just kind of went through everything that you were doing. This is before your current setup, even, and you were using the virtual background before, if you remember those days, right?
I
Where you had
do.
that.
I do.
And again, pre-pandemic, all this stuff that was totally the norm, and it's fine, and still a lot of people use it. But yeah, we went through and try to optimize your setup using what you already had, and we made a couple recommendations. And that was the beginning of this world for me, was just showing up as a consultant, and I still do quite a bit of that here at Call Upgrade. And basically, what we do is an hourly at $380 per hour, and there's a half hour minimum. So for $190 is the simplest way to kind of get in and say, hey, let's just do a quick audit. You know what I mean? Let's look at here's my webcam. Maybe I've got a ring light. I don't know if I'm using it right, or I know I'm not using it right. What can I do to kind of dial this in and make it look better? And there's a lot of different things you can look at. It could be the software side. It could be, the camera placement. It could be making a couple of recommendations like, hey, I love your setup, but maybe if you spent a couple $100 on a mic and this camera over here, we could take things further, and whatever it might be, So that's a really easy way to start. And then,
so time out. I want to make sure I
yeah,
read that. For $195, you can get a 30-minute audit with, I'm sure, he'd learn and he'd recommend. So guys, I don't think there's a loan officer in America, even if you're a new loan officer, that is more than most loan officers spend at Starbucks in a month. So and remember how much money we make on a loan. So for as little as $195, we can get a 30-minute, 101 consultation, and for 1 hour, $400, guys. Okay, so keep going.
And yes. So basically, that's kind of the entry, the beginning, and you can take that further. Of course, you could do a few hours of consulting to, help learn some software, or I train people in. Sometimes I'll train like a marketing department of a company in on how to think about these things a little bit differently. So there's a lot of different areas of consulting that we can do, and you can start to take things further. Like the way that I'm operating my setup here, I'm using this panel of buttons. So I've got these things where I can just go, hey, I want my social media stuff to come up. So I'm gonna hit the social media button, and now my graphic pops up where you can follow me and scan it with your phone, all that kind of stuff. Or I might want to, have a full screen logo that pops up, at the beginning of a call, these sort of things. And so I can do those by using this panel of buttons. And so this is a lot of what I do these days is helping people build their own set of buttons and get them programmed and teach them how to use it so that they can have some sort of fancy graphics and whatnot. And that definitely requires additional hardware. Like you have to start, investing in some equipment, cameras, all these other things. But this is a great part of that. I sort of
to
part of my unique
have a box like that with,
yeah.
And let's just call the low end box platform, because I know it can, could be north of 30 grand. It could be a lot. But
Yeah.
what is the low end? I want to have a box with my contact information, with a few things that I want to have pop up. Like if I was a loan officer and I wanted to position myself as an advisor, I might have an image that I always wanted to pop up so that I could kind of story tell around a framework that I have. What would be the low end box setup?
Well, it depends. There's a couple of ways you can go about it. There's a gentleman that I was just doing a setup with, and he's just got the box, just the buttons themselves. And generally, what I tell people is the buttons themselves aren't terribly powerful. It's like it's a elaborate keyboard essentially. It's got a little screen in there, and you can hit buttons, and the buttons are programmed to cue certain things. But there's no inherent power necessarily in the buttons themselves. But there are some programs. I don't know if anyone's heard of StreamYard, is a online video streaming platform. You can program your buttons to control StreamYard. So if you're doing a lot of live streams and different things there, or you can actually use it to record video, you can program buttons to kind of bring your guests in and out. And some of these.
Are you working with Tony Blodgett?
Yeah, I've spoken with Tony. Yeah, I think it's been a hot second.
Yeah, well, he's got a new podcast, and he was doing some things, and he actually I think he could use some of your consulting. I'll introduce you to him. I'll reconnect you.
That's good. There we go. Yeah. So at the very least, in the buttons, there's a few different sizes. There's a 6-panel one, which is far too few. You don't want that. There's a 15-panel one that's I think $150. It's called the Stream Deck, and I have a kit.co. I recently got a kit.co And so I'll give you the link that you can put in the notes there, but where I'm putting a few of these common recommendations of different pieces of gear. So that's the Stream Deck. It's $150. The big one, the one that I'm using here, is 32 buttons. This guy is $250. But the caveat is, yeah, like you said, what do you really need to
No,
do
but
that?
I'm
So
talking that. So $250 plus consulting and coaching. So
yeah, and
how many
some
hours? Everybody could do the math, but what's
yeah,
a
let's see here. At the very least, probably a couple hours to get something, you know, just running. You know what I mean? And you need at the very least a few different components. There's something called an A10 Mini that you would need that you can load up with some graphics, and you plug your camera in. And this whole thing, by the way, wouldn't work with a webcam. You would have to have a good camera, you know. So that this is really when you're starting to get to the more advanced setup. So what I tell people is, at the very least, you know, to do anything meaningful in terms of the high end sort of production stuff, you got to spend a few K, you know,
so like 3K
maybe
or
a little more. You could
or
probably get away with something for 3K, but you know,
so
you'd be
five.
pushing it.
So it sounds like there's under 1,000 if the budget's super tight there. I mean, if you just want to have a call, couple hundred, but if you really want to get, you know, an experience that's aligned around your brand, you know, it's a $5,000 budget. And so cool.
Yeah,
So if
yeah. The other
someone,
thing too, that a lot of people, they already have some of this stuff. Maybe you already have some lights. You might have a camera. You might have some of these pieces, and you just need help putting it together. And then it becomes a little more affordable because, okay, we can just augment this a little bit and add the stuff you're missing. Yeah.
cool. Well, Ryan, you are a gift to the mortgage coach community. I really
Thank you, Dave.
appreciate the time. Any closing thoughts you have or any closing advice you have for everybody?
Yeah, I think the last thing, if I can give one more little shameless plug here, the big way that we help people, especially with a all-in-one sort of solution, is this thing I showed a little bit earlier. This is our product. This is our one product that we have right now, our Call Upgrade Pro, and this is a camera. This is a microphone. This has two lights. It's got all the stands. It's got all the wires, and then the eye contact thing that I mentioned. It's got a monitor, and the camera's actually behind a reflection of the monitor,
Sweet.
so you're looking through that, so you can have eye contact. That's how that works there. So that whole setup, very similar to what we're talking about. That's $5,995. So that's just about a $6,000 investment, and we ship it to you. So we send it to you, and then it includes a 2-hour setup call. So that's where we take and we walk you through getting it set up on your desk, and then basically you've got this setup. Kind of, if you've got a dual monitor setup like this, is often what it looks like, and it's all there ready to go for your different virtual meetings and content creation. I think that's, yeah, the closing thought would be that this is a studio essentially, and whatever you have, if something you built yourself or something like one of these kits, you've got an opportunity now, and some might say an obligation, to be taking your insights, taking your knowledge, and putting it out there. And what a great way for you to gather new clients, new customers, is to be a thought leader, to be an expert in your field. And by having a setup like this that's always on the ready, there's no excuse anymore to not be making stuff, right? And yeah, there is really no excuse. We all have a phone in our pocket, a camera in our pocket that we could be making stuff with. But if the excuse was, hey, the quality isn't there, now that's not even an excuse, because it's a lot more attainable than it used to be. So go make some stuff. Put yourself
Yeah,
out there.
no doubt. So for a few loans, you know, you can have a studio that's going to last you years, that is going to help you amplify, you know, your eye contact, who you are, show up on Zoom in the most professional way possible. I do think this is a video that's valuable for loan officers and realtors. And I also think this would be a great conversation. So if you're in the mortgage coach community and you want to be the best, you want to have the best conversion, you want to have the best recruiting skills, and you want to do it virtually, this makes tons of sense. So what is the best way for people to reach out to you? Is it through Instagram? Is it an email? Like, what is your preferred contact point?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And going back to my social media slide here, Instagram, Call Upgrade, CALL Upgrade on Instagram. Not only is that a good way to reach us, you know, we are always checking our messages there, but we've got a ton of content on there. A lot of helpful tips. There's some stuff that we spoke about today, camera placement and just where to put your lights and microphone, all that kind of stuff. We try to put a lot of helpful content on there. So definitely check that as a resource. And then, yeah, if you want to connect and you want to take the next steps on something or have a conversation with us, yeah, send us a message on there, or just hello@callupgrade.com is a good email address. And that gets to me and my business manager as well. And yeah, we'd be more than happy to connect and hop on for a quick demo of some of this stuff if you have any questions. Or you want to say you want to build a studio, or you just want to talk about what are some ways that you could level up your setup. Yeah, we'd be more than happy to connect with you there. So Instagram's a great place. And of course,
So
callupgrade.com. We have some information
yeah.
as well. But
And if you're watching this on YouTube, like pause, take a picture of that what do we call those things? Those
oh, the QR code.
QR
Yeah.
code.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
check this out, guys. I just took a picture of that while we were talking. And I've got his email, I've got Instagram, I got Facebook, I got your website, I got LinkedIn. I just saved you into my contacts. Guys, leverage technology to build relationships. And if you want to amplify who you are, you want to win friends and influence people on Zoom, get after it with Ryan. I do recommend that $6,000 investment, but whatever. I mean, your budget, you make your own decisions. At least hopefully you got some value from this call. Anything else before we wrap it?
No, man, this has been fantastic. Really, more than anything, thank you, Dave. This has been awesome getting to know you over the last couple of years, and it's just been really great to be a part of such a cool community. I love what you guys are doing at Mortgage Coach, and especially now that you connected so closely with Alex too. Like, what a cool partnership that is!
Oh
And
yeah,
I'm so excited for you guys.
yeah. I can't wait to see his new studio in person. If you got value from this, like it on social media. I always say share this with your mortgage friends, but share this with your realtor partners too. They'll get value from it. Have a great day, everybody. And Ryan, you the man, bro. Appreciate you.
Boom. Thanks.